Welcome back, guys, to the Beyond Condition podcast, the voice of bodybuilding. And my guest is a returning guest. It is my bodybuilding brother, Zac Leeson. Welcome.
What's going on, people? I'm happy to be back.
Yeah, it's cool, isn't it? Because of course we train at the same gym, so we have multiple conversations about essentially where we see bodybuilding going, what we're doing ourselves, and just the general chats. I would say for sure you're the person that I speak to about bodybuilding the most when it's literally like this all we talk about. And but we can talk for like 2 hours about it, right?
Really, yeah. We sleep, breathe, and well, everything is just life, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, and there's a multitude of ways to look at bodybuilding. Of course, there's going to be people that, there's other priorities in their life, and absolutely, we all do whatever suits us and how we want to fit bodybuilding into our life. But I feel like we're both very much on it is literally everything, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I mean, if a lot of people bodybuild for reasons that probably aren't the right reasons, especially nowadays because of social media and sort of gratification. But you and me have been bodybuilding longer than Instagram, so we do it for ourselves essentially, because when we started, there was no fancy pictures and everything was just in Beef magazine.
Yeah, yeah.
So, yeah, we've got it locked in, it's ingrained in us, and that's probably why we love it. And the longevity of it for us, it's not like a chore or a task, it's just life.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And I feel like that's something, as you say, can be missed because it is like when you look at what we do to the daily level of the tick boxes, it absolutely could feel like a chore. And I love that you said that word because so many people do see it as that. And I think that's probably why a lot of people don't start if they're thinking they have to do it to the degree we do it. It's like you're already telling yourself, well, I can't commit that much to it. But you don't have to. And that's the whole point of being able to assess how bodybuilding can serve you. And I feel like it serves us by being our everything. So consequently, we can pour everything into it. And it's that real talk of how much do you want from this and how much can you put into it? Because there's a lot of words thrown around in the space, for sure there is, but you've got to back that up by action. And I spoke about this on a solo pod not long ago. It's like, don't just say words, have something behind that. And we spoke about that, you're now in prep and you're, of course, going to the Amateur O this year and you've got huge aspirations. And with anything, when you have aspirations, if you're going to talk those words out loud, you've got to believe it, right? You've got to believe it within so much.
Yeah, 100%. And I mean, in bodybuilding, self belief is absolutely key because it's people say it's a lonely sport. It's not to an extent if you've got a good circle, but what is not necessarily lonely, but what is self-driven is you ticking all the boxes every day, you putting your ass on the line when you're doing cardio, you getting up to go and train. It may not be at a time that suits you because of life or other commitments, etc. But you still go and do it, and you do it to the best of your ability. It might not be perfect every week, but we do it, and that's the thing. Because, like you say, it's a self-driven vibe about it. And just to touch on what you said briefly as well about people giving it words and everything as well. I was having a conversation earlier in the week with one of my friends about this. And again, kind of back to social media nowadays, everybody puts out that I'm doing a show, I've started bodybuilding, I'm going to be the greatest ever, I'm going pro. Like, bro, you've never done a 12-week diet. So if you're going to move on to saying all that stuff, when you're on prep, at least make it to stage because that's something I've seen real common this year is so many people effectively giving it the big one on social, saying that they're going to be the next pro, they're going to be the Mr. Olympia and all this sort of shit, and females as well, obviously.
Mhm.
And when it comes to actually dieting and doing the do and doing the hard work, and when the calories drop and their expenditure's high, that's it. They've gone, they've disappeared. And they're crying on the story, going, my prep's over, I can't do it, I'm sorry, I've let everybody down. It's like, really, yeah? You're only letting yourself down.
For sure, for
You
sure.
know what I mean? Unless you're like a massive seasoned competitor and you've got sponsors and or people have already bought tickets to your show, you effectively haven't let anybody else down
Mm.
because whatever your reasons were for starting that prep, that's what you failed on,
Hmm.
not necessarily everybody else's vibe.
Yeah.
Like I say, it's a bit different if you've got sponsors or you actually have commitments within bodybuilding and fitness, or like, you know, there might be some contracts that say, oh, you must compete 2 times a year, you know, to get X, Y, and Z off us as a supplement brand, etc. And then you've let them down. But I mean, a lot of them are understanding anyway. But you know, back to it, like if you're there on Instagram telling everybody you're going to do it, at least come through with it.
Yeah, I like that you've actually said that. I don't feel like I've sort of had it on framed as that way on the pod before. It is literally, and people can view this in a way that's like, what do you mean I'm letting myself down? But really, when you frame it like that, it's like you're saying I've let everyone down. But really, at the true heart of it, it's if you're feeling like you've let someone down, then really it's probably going to be that you feel you've let yourself down, and maybe you're trying to sort of project that and find other reasons to. I guess as well when we look at it, Zach, by saying it like that, I've let everyone down. You may be asking for people to go, no, you haven't let me down. You've made the right decision, but you're looking for something to come back there, aren't you? It's like validation that you've
Yeah,
let.
effectively, you're looking for an excuse and to cop out of basically saying that you couldn't handle their prep.
Mhm.
Because prep's not easy by any account, no matter what level you're at, whether you're like a natural beginner or whether you're prepping for Mr. Olympia. Like prep is not easy, and you know it never will be. And I understand why some people can't do it, and I appreciate that. And some things are for some people, things are bigger than bodybuilding as well, and like I do accept that.
Mm.
But then, like I say, it comes back to it. Like if you're that person who is not bodybuilding isn't your life, and you're doing it for a couple of stage pictures or some Instagram gratification, or because you think you'll get a sponsorship where you get a free tub of protein every month,
Mm.
then you don't need to tell the world about it. You just need to get your head down, do it, get on stage for the first time, hopefully look okay. If you don't, that's fine. But then take the feedback and go, I really like doing this. I enjoyed this prep. It was hard, but it challenged me and it improved me. So I'm
Mhm.
going to take the feedback, whether it be from a coach or a judge or somebody with skin in the game, and then I'll do better next time.
Yeah.
And that's what bodybuilding should be to the majority of people.
Mm.
I think at the moment, obviously, we had a brief discussion the other day in the gym as well about the number of pro cards, and everybody seems to be talking about it at the moment. From somebody who's tried to get a pro card and somebody who currently doesn't have one,
Yeah.
it's not as easy as people think.
Yeah.
Just because you see them handed out on Instagram every other week
Mm.
at these big shows, it still takes a lot of effort to get there, and it takes a lot of sacrifice, and it also takes a lot of financial backing as well to do multiple shows year in, year out, especially internationals. My view on it is that some people win them and they go, okay, that's me. I don't want to do what's required to go to the next level, but I've got to this level, which is a level higher than 90% of people will get to.
For sure.
And then some of them try to go that bit further and realize maybe they're not cut out for it genetically.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
then they don't want to push anabolics any further through health and safety. And I get that. And then there is a few that do go through and go all the way to the top. And that's great. I just think that when people are getting these pro cards, before people start commenting on, oh, they're giving out pro cards too easily, they're giving out pro cards too easily. Well, no, because that person won that show and they deserve to win it.
Mhm.
In
Mhm.
99% of the cases, they deserve to win that show.
Mhm. Mhm.
Could that person stand on an Olympia stage this week? No. So the point is they need to develop as a pro. So there is nothing wrong with that, because if you gave everybody pro cards who always looked phenomenal, there would be no ranking system in the pro league.
Yeah. Yeah.
So this is where they have to do the shows and they have to get better and they have to start again. And it's the same thing. And I've varied off a little bit there, but
No, no,
that,
yeah.
that's kind of my take on the whole pro card thing. I don't think there's too many being given out. I think that the people that get to that level that are capable of getting a pro card, they need to decide on whether they want to go further or not, because that's the biggest thing. Because
Mm.
then it takes a bigger influx of money, it takes up more time. It's not just a hobby as such anymore at an amateur level. You're a professional athlete to that point. and you travel in the world with it. Then you're not just bopping up and down the country to a few regionals. So I just think it's what is entailed with going pro and what's needed to be a good pro where you're recognizable. And I think that's the biggest gap that people don't talk about, because from winning your pro card to qualifying for the Olympia, there's an absolutely huge, huge, huge difference. Because, you look at, there's probably, I'm just going to make this figure up right now, there's probably a good 80 people in the UK that have got pro cards.
Yeah, for sure.
I'd probably say give or take around 80,
Yeah, maybe even more.
maybe even more, yeah. And in the last 5 years, you can probably name 20 that have got an Olympia invite.
Yeah. And when you actually look at it as well, it is, I love how you've actually brought that into the conversation, because when you then prep, the difference is when we're talking about, I'm going to do a 12-week prep, I'm going to step on stage, I'm going to do it, and then I don't finalize the prep. When you then put this in the experienced competitive realm, you've got the pro card. Well, it's a bit like Small But Mighty, she actually realized partway through prep, I'm not bringing my best physique here. There's a lot of other stuff in my life, and I need the financial backing to do the shows I want to do. So,
Yeah,
is it better to reroute, go into off season, and actually make more of a statement when I step on the pro stage to get the Olympia qualification? And that's the difference,
absolutely.
isn't it? Because
Yeah,
it's like and it's a true example of there's a lot required to step on that pro stage if you are looking for the Olympia qualification, and that can be forgotten because it's like, oh, I'll just do all of these shows. But if you're in the pro league, the higher echelons, guess what? There's people turning up there that it is their whole life. Like they're literally doing everything to step on that stage for the qualification. And some athletes have to do, you know, how many shows did SAS do to get the
do
Olympia
you know what I
qualification?
mean? Yeah, like Sasan is a phenomenal, phenomenal bodybuilder,
Yeah,
and I mean Sasan turned pro back in UKBFF, so
yeah,
we're talking maybe it's got to be 8 years ago. That surely
yeah,
8 9 years ago when Sasan turned pro, something like that. And he's a phenomenal, phenomenal bodybuilder, and this is his first Olympia.
yeah.
Like, and Sasan was one of the best we had in the country for years. Like, but when I say the best in the country, there was about four of them in terms of like James, Luke, Sasan, and Nathan that were literally a cut above everybody else for a good 4 or 5 years running. Then they all went pro, and they were still a cut above everybody else because everybody who went pro after that didn't really come close. And then it's only recently, obviously, in the last sort of 4 years, that Samson's really developed and come through, and obviously now won Mr. Olympia, and that's fantastic for British bodybuilding, isn't it? But yeah, like you're looking at it, and this is what I was going back to earlier about the difference between just getting a card and then being able to do something with it. Like them guys, Nathan is the most decorated UK athlete of all time, I believe, with 13 pro wins, which is phenomenal, and multiple Olympia entries. So that's an achievement within itself. Do you know what I mean? And then Sampson's now Mr. Olympia, so that's phenomenal. Sass is there this year. So the boys are doing it, and you can't take that away from British bodybuilding. So it sets the standard of where we need to be.
Yeah.
But I just feel that like you say, Small But Mighty, that is a very good tactical decision where she needs to be.
Yeah.
And that is completely different to somebody than crying off prep because it was too difficult to eat chicken and rice, or it was too difficult to eat fish and veg. She's gone, no, I'm not going to be my best. This is my career. I
Yeah.
need to shut down prep. I need to come back better. And also, if I'm going to do shows in, whether it be Asia or America or even South America, these are all countries that we'd all love to go to as well, and think you can do that, which is great.
Yeah.
But flying there, a flight to anywhere, whether it's America, South America, Asia, like Tokyo, somewhere like that, you're looking at 1,200 quid, give or take.
Yeah, for
You
sure.
know, so there's just your flight.
Mm.
And then you can't just turn up the day before the show because of your water retention and stuff. So then you've got to fly out a week early, maybe 10 days early. Then
Yeah.
you've got to pay for all your accommodation out there. So these things do add up, and it's just things that that people don't see unless they've either been there and done it, or that's what they do.
Mm,
So I think in Sarah's case, it's a real good decision. It's a smart decision.
yeah.
But then obviously you've got people, like I say, moaning about eating fish and veg to get on stage for a regional show, and they're like, "Oh no, it's the end of the world," But they've told everybody that they're going to be at this upper echelons level without actually thinking what it takes, just because they see beautiful pictures on Instagram of what most people consider physical perfection on stage, and they're like, "This is what I aspire to achieve, but I don't know what it takes to get there."
Yeah.
And that's one of the biggest things, that when people don't know what it takes, they're not willing to do what it takes.
Yeah, and I feel like we started bodybuilding in a very similar stance of like I want to do a prep, see if I can do the prep, and then you either get the bug or you don't. And my first shot who taught me that I've got the bug and I'll get through the fucking most savage post show available to man in my own brain. I was like, okay, so if I can get through this and do an off season and go back into a prep, this is the thing for me. And that's often, as you say, forgotten. And something we spoke about the other day was time in the game. And I feel like when you get snapshots on Instagram or people go, "Oh, I've done a prep," maybe you see someone do a prep and they win every show on their first season. Great for them, but it's not often reality for the majority of the population that people get into, bodybuilding and the sport. And people don't get to experience what we get to experience now, 13, 15 years in the game, as it were, where we still get excited about like, this is more developed now. I've dieted down, the off season has worked on that area I was bringing up. Oh, okay, so this is what I want to do in my next prep to bring my best physique. There's all of these things that you have to almost get off on if you're going to do this for a long period of time. Because how can we both sit here this far in and still be like, I've seen a new line, I'm fucking hyped.
That's it.
We've done
Yeah,
that so many times, but we still get the same fucking dopamine hit when you see a striation.
yeah.
You know,
I think apart from us being both absolutely nuts, um, that that persistent chase of fulfillment, and I think it's to be better.
yeah,
It's definitely not vanity, because people assume bodybuilding is a vanity sport, but I actually say it's a complete opposite, because we walk around half the time looking like scruffs, hood up, headphones on, baggy clothes, because we're putting the work in, because we want to be better, and we're just trying to be the best that we can. Yeah, ultimately on stage we look pretty and great and what's considered perfect, and people make all that vanity. But I tell you what, some of the days going into it, they're definitely not vanity.
they are not like it is that, and I have this, and we're going to talk about bikini versus heavyweight as well. I have this where I feel like I can be quite different to what you'd maybe visualize a bikini competitor in regards to the oversized tees and the fucking Otomic trousers and whatever, It's for me, as you said there, is putting the work in. And something I wanted to share with you on this episode was I had a conversation with a client a couple of years ago, and she said, I thought bikini was, the pumpy, the looking good on Instagram, the nice hair, and not really having to work that hard in the gym. And I was like, whoa, I feel like a blow to the heart here. And it's and Nath said this when he came on the pod. He was like, bikini girls have to work as hard as figure girls. Like it's not, it's just your body type is suited to the category that you go into, unless you, of course, develop and you move category. But it was interesting to hear that, and I wonder if there's ever sort of similar thoughts in the physique realm, male physique realm, like whether people sort of see that as more of the like female, the bikini. It's like the male bikini realm, and then you've got
Absolutely,
yeah, okay, yeah, yeah.
absolutely. If you ever talk to a super heavyweight bodybuilder, they will tell you that it's just men's bikini. They wear shorts, they don't
I
train legs
did wonder that. I was like, I'm gonna have to
all
ask.
the time, all the time. And then even like, they'll say about classic as well. They're just small bodybuilders who don't want to get any bigger, which to an extent, I mean, around like sort of say amateur level is probably right.
Yeah.
But then again, as well, for a lot of these guys who are amateur or who are just starting out in bodybuilding and they relate to like Chris Bumstead or Wesley Veers or Terence Ruffin, because they're popular guys, they all look great. They look great pretty much all year round. Their posing's fantastic. They're so marketable. They give really good interviews on pods. So everybody wants to be like them.
Yeah, good point.
Now, unless you've met them in person, you don't understand how big they actually are.
Yeah.
For a classic physique, you don't understand how big they actually are. So when I've seen lads in the gym, and it's, ironically, our gym say, "Oh, I don't need to get as big as you, bro, because I'm doing classic." Okay, so in 2023, I was on stage at 237 pounds as a super heavyweight. Chris Bumstead, ironically, won his pro card as a super heavyweight and competed at the Olympia at 240 pounds.
Mm.
So you're telling me at 194 pounds, whatever you are, that you don't need to get any bigger. Okay. And that is just like, I think, a very big misconception in bodybuilding. And again, it goes back to what I said, the difference about being amateur, getting a pro card, and being a pro.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, that gap. I mean, so the kid was like 193 pounds. So obviously he'll have his caps that'll be different to Chris's. But even if you look at that in terms of just like mathematics, and say he was the same height as Chris, he wasn't, but you're looking at a 50 pound difference.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you're probably looking at probably 60 pound of muscle tissue.
Mm. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And
Mm.
that's what you've got to look at. And that's a very big difference. Like even if you have a phenomenal year and you're on anabolics and you gain 10 pound, 10 pound of stage weight, which is phenomenal. It is, it's ridiculous.
That's a lot.
It's a lot. That's still 6 solid years
Yeah.
before you even gain that amount of tissue. Never mind refine it and mature it and sculpt it, like, and then redefine your condition on top of that. Like, it's a long jaunt, man. It
Yeah.
really is. So I think you've got to be in it mentally locked in for the long haul. You know, unless you are a genetic freak. But I mean, there's like, you know, it's
Not
too
many.
bad. Yeah.
Yeah. It's also as well, I feel like going into it like that, it's almost like a defeatist mindset of like, I don't need to do right. Okay, so what are you doing it for then if you're not excited to progress and actually maybe do a bit more than you need to, right? Like what's
Yeah,
wrong with
definitely.
that?
I mean, I'll be honest. So, out of all the preps I've done, this year is definitely my favorite.
Yeah.
But obviously, my mind is fully locked in on my end goal. But I'm dying to start growing and training and eating and improving again and trying to see what new muscle I can pick up because obviously, when you diet down, it's nice to see the improvements you've made.
Yeah.
And since 23, I've made a lot of improvements and I look a lot better. However, I know I've still got some weak points, or what I would consider my weak points.
Mm.
Um, so your off season is there to change them, to negate them, to be better. And I'm already looking forward to doing that. But I just know first I've got a job to do.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just one of them things. I mean, how can you not look forward to improving in bodybuilding? I don't understand. I think it's the whole point of the game.
Yeah, it is. I definitely and you might find what I've had coming out of this diet. Obviously, it wasn't to stage, it was for a photo shoot in the end and to assess my symmetry and my atrophy, and as you know, my leg. But I've certainly found that I just this sort of post diet vibe. I'm just like I'm so fucking hyped to progress because I've seen, as you're seeing, right, these are my I'm gonna need to work on this in my off season. Same with me, it's in real time. You go, okay, for me, I need to grow this quad. And that's the goal. Like that's literally the goal. So there hasn't been any overeating, there hasn't been any missing the gym, there hasn't been any of the shit that previously was very, very tough post show, etc. In the earlier years. It's like I'm so hyped to grow. And I wonder if you'll have the same experience because obviously going to stage lean is different to what I did. So I can't say that physiologically I was there, but I don't know. It just there's a switch this time. It sounds like you're having the same. How funny that we're this far in and we're feeling like this.
Yeah, and I think that just shows the choices that we've made to get this far in. We've not quit, we've not abandoned it, we've not gone, oh, okay, well, maybe I should just give up, or anything sort of negative like that, or walk away from the sport. Because there's a lot of people, I think, who don't achieve what they think they should have achieved, and they walk away from the sport and give it a bad name. And
Yeah.
it's no, no, no. Bodybuilding didn't give you an eating disorder. No, bodybuilding didn't make you fat. And no, bodybuilding didn't mess you up. You did that with your mental choices, trying to apply yourself and then quitting.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
Like, that's the thing. Bodybuilding doesn't tell you that you have to eat chicken and rice. Bodybuilding says, get lean, get big. So if you ate chicken and rice 6 times a day for 5 years running and not deviate from that plan, and then you said you've got an eating disorder,
Hmm.
that's just through lack of knowledge.
Yeah, and also it's often predetermined things before you get into to bodybuilding. It's something it is something that I pick up in the space. It's bodybuilding as a principle. Actual bodybuilding is your training, pushing and pulling that for the diet or the off season. Your nutrition, pushing and pulling that. Expenditure, pushing and pulling that. The actual bodybuilding, it's actually you and what that committing to those things then exhibits. So there's something that's happened potentially previous to bodybuilding or something that's already there that it then flourishes in a bodybuilding setting. But it's not bodybuilding, it's not the actual principles of bodybuilding, is it?
No, it's not, because the bodybuilding principles are so, so simple.
Yeah.
You either do a little bit more or you do a little bit less. You eat a little bit more or you eat a little bit less. You sleep a little bit more and you try and sleep a little bit more because you can't sleep. Well, apart from that, it's the same. The bodybuilding principles are exactly the same year in, year out. The only time they vary is depending on your goal, and that's how they change.
Mm.
And how you associate that mentally, that's the biggest thing, I think, is what you associate your current task with.
Mm.
Because even like people binge eat and like, oh, I'm off season, it's okay. Well, it's not okay, is it? Because then now you're fat and you messed up your insulin resistance. And then you're going to blame bodybuilding for being overweight all year and, walking around with cankles. But
Mm.
that was you being greedy.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I feel like as well, certainly it's not helped with a couple of things spring to mind with. And this is something I don't think I've touched on it in this light on the pod before, and I was thinking about this the other day. It's a bit like when people say, I've got a gluten intolerance and they haven't. And I get pissed because I'm like, there's celiacs that can fucking die. Like, why do you need to say you're intolerant to gluten? Maybe you're sensitive to it. Like I am. I'm sensitive to gluten. Now, also, I feel like sometimes there's a bit of a hot topic around having a food disorder. Now, what that upsets me if you haven't and you've maybe overeaten, right? Like post show, we all do it. So it disrespects people that are actually struggling with a diagnosed food disorder that, maybe not even inside bodybuilding, maybe they want to, get into bodybuilding. And actually, I feel like it sort of smack talks them when they're going through fucking hell. And it's like suddenly bodybuilding's it's almost like this tagline to it gave me a food disorder, and maybe they haven't even got a food disorder. And I feel like it just takes the fucking piss, to be honest.
Yeah. And, that's kind of like, it's I think it's bad education for nutrition for these. I'm saying this from a new person point of view in bodybuilding. That a lot of people seem to demonize foods.
Mm.
They're like bagels are bad, bread is bad, toast is bad. Like, well, toast is just cooked bread.
It's
So if you
just
tell me
toast.
you eat toast, you telling me you're not going to eat that tuna sandwich, like at your kid's party.
Yeah.
So like, what is it? Do you know what I mean?
It's all
Uh,
you got.
yeah,
Mm.
it goes either way, doesn't it? So yeah, I think people just demonize foods and they're like, oh, I can't eat that because of this. I've got a gluten intolerance. But you haven't, no, have you? You've probably just overate and you're full and you're slightly bloated because your digestion slowed down. You know.
Mm. I just feel it's unfortunate with the influx of sort of social media and stuff where it's like there's constantly this. yearning to label things, yearning to be like, oh yeah, I'm intolerant to that too, or I've got X food disorder. And it doesn't help as well. I think sometimes coaches sort of frame it that way as well. Certain coaches,
Yeah, because you've got some coaches, haven't you, that basically market that I'm an intolerance specialist, or
yeah,
I'm a well, somebody that specializes in medical diseases and they're not a doctor. Do you
yeah,
know what I mean? You
fucking
know,
hell.
you see it quite a lot now, don't you? People using it to market, to niche down, and just sort of take people's money and just tell everybody that they've got something wrong with them.
Mm.
Because I think sometimes people just want to hear they've got something wrong with them, so it gives them an out.
Yeah, yeah, it is. And then it's tied into this bodybuilding did this to me. I called out
Yeah,
a lot. Sometimes I lose followers when I call out my story because I'm like, no,
yeah,
bodybuilding didn't do anything to you. Like, and I also think as well, I'm sure you'll agree, when you look at like the Arnie era and you look at the old documentaries and stuff like that, like they were all just fucking having a ball. They were in the gym pumping up, oh yeah, get the pump up, and
yeah.
obviously we weren't there in that space and we don't know the ins and outs of it, but it just looked like they were fucking celebrating bodybuilding, and he'd walk around and he'd have his top off on the beach and he'd be doing like, and everyone would be like, oh my God. And it was like what I feel bodybuilding could be, this creation of your masterpiece, rather than it's like this toxic fucking vibe sometimes, and I'm like, why? But then we've got Instagram, we've got social media, and we've got pressure, and we've got fucking opinions everywhere, and I guess we can't stop that.
Yeah, I think it comes from a lot of angles now, doesn't it? And there's this whole sort of fat is beautiful thing going on as well the last couple of years. And bodybuilding is seen as demonic and demoralizing, and we're all freaks and that sort of thing.
Mm.
Um, and I think like so people are happy to body shame us, but if you ever say anything like that to a fat person, it's classed as bullying. Do you know what I mean? And it's just like you say, it's just demonized bodybuilding because people assume it gives you eating disorders. But really, if you're like 20 odd stone and you're like 40, 50, 60% body fat, like that's an eating disorder, like within itself. Do you
Yeah.
know what I mean? But people don't want to call it out. And that's just unfortunately the society we live in today.
It is hard when people do demonize what we do, and we've got so much passion for it. It's like we said on the last pod, like if anyone hasn't listened, Zach and I did a pod previously. It's like we were like, well, it is what it is. I wish more people could actually see it for what it is. Like
Yeah.
actually.
Yeah. And I think, and especially so like, people obviously won't say it so much to you, but definitely as like a super heavyweight bodybuilder, everybody turns around and goes, "Yeah, I could do that if I took steroids."
Oh yeah, okay.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah, so it's all right that I'm fat and I'm 20 odd stone, but because you look like that, you're 20 stone and you're 12, 10% body fat, I can tell you that you wouldn't like that because you took steroids.
Yeah.
Like, and again, that's okay, apparently, in the world we live in.
Mm.
But, somebody who looks like me as a bodybuilder couldn't turn around to a fat woman and say, put down the fish and chips.
There is this.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, that would be frowned upon then.
Because I feel like the majority of actual bodybuilders are probably more respectful to people embracing whatever shape they decide, whatever your journey, if that's truly what makes you happy, then of course, that's important. But we wouldn't ever, I wouldn't, I wouldn't be like, hey up. If someone comes to coaching and they want help, then you're obviously going to talk about how they feel, but you wouldn't go up to someone,
Yeah.
make comments, it's fucking wild.
No, absolutely not. Do you know what I mean? And I've got one of my friends from Gasp in America. So she is she's a big lady, bless her. So she's a national level, international level powerlifter, and women's physique athlete as well.
Wow.
And I was just chatting to her and stuff, and she was telling me one time, and she'd just gone to their local Walmart just to get some food, do food shopping. And some guy went up to her and was like, "Why the fuck do you want to look like that?
Yeah, it's
Like, why would you say that to somebody?
I know.
Like, I don't understand. Like, what? what would go through your head to just openly walk up to somebody and say that?
Yeah, it's fucked up. Like Romana gets it
Yeah, I'm not surprised. Yeah.
in like Tesco, and I think fuck me, she's bigger than the majority of even if we look at Destination as a whole, she's probably bigger than most of the fucking guys, and I think why would you ever need to like? Is it some sort of like, okay, she's more muscular than me, I feel like less of a man, or like what the fuck?
I think that has to be what it is. It has to be. Why males put down female physiques? It has to be that reason. You know, I can't fathom it myself. Like I don't understand why you do it. But I mean, obviously, I appreciate bodybuilding in all forms, whether, like you say, whether it's from bikini to women's bodybuilding, whether it's from, you know, amateur to pro. Like bodybuilding's bodybuilding. Everybody's been on the journey. Everybody's put the work in to get to where they are. Um, you know, nothing's given. Everything's earned in bodybuilding. So I think that you have to respect that.
Yeah, and like very much our conversation the other day, and where we were going to talk about the sort of differences between male and female with you know, essentially as well as you move through the time in the game, you sort of get like what you're talking about there, bodybuilding is bodybuilding, and time in the game gives you rewards in different ways, doesn't it? So we spoke about, the physique standpoint. Obviously, you're looking to accrue muscle tissue over the off seasons. You're learning maybe how that's more efficacious for you. So I'm doing my reverse out very different to previous reverse outs and my off season, etc. So you learn that. But then also you almost get rewards of like your prep at the moment. It's a very different setup. Obviously, you've got a new coach, and that's someone else gearing the ship. But there's some differences there as well. The more you do, the sort of more you get back from it, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, as we spoke about, it's time in the game, it's skin in the game, it's effort applied consistently.
Mhm.
I think that's one thing a lot of people seem to miss because you'll get like mid-level competitors who will do a prep and they'll go all in, balls deep for 12, 15, 14, 16 weeks. And then they'll reverse out for about 3 weeks and be like, oh yeah, I'm done now. Then the off season goes to shit and they have a pretty meh off season. And
Mhm.
then they go, right, oh, it's time to prep again.
Yeah,
Another 15, 16 weeks, balls deep, pedal to the metal, 100%. And they've probably improved like 1%.
for sure.
And they look pretty much the same as they did before
Mm,
because they weren't consistent through their off season.
mhm, mhm.
And that is going to lead us on to what we're going to talk about in terms of your preps either being the same or different. Because if you can put in the effort through your off season when people aren't watching, when you don't look great, when you know you're not Instagrammable all the time, and that's where you're going to make the difference into your prep because the changes have been made.
Mm, mm.
Like all your prep is there to chip away at what you've done. Like it's very rare you'll grow some muscle on prep. I mean, you might grow a fraction, but nowhere near compared to your off season.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So all you are doing in your prep is just refining your actual work, dedication, and consistency from your off season.
and looking again what we touched on earlier, what will I need to progress next time? But it's also as well, actually there is levels of entitlement within the space where it's like you automatically think you should win your first season, your second season, your third season, and the knocks. Well, I thought I was going to get into this as you've spoken about, and it's like, oh, I'm going to win a show. I'm going to do, maybe I don't need to do that much of an off season. I'm already good enough, or but in the analytical mind of a competitor that's doing this for longevity and the rest of their lives, you can always improve. I'm sure Samson's like, right, what do I need to improve? What do I need to improve? What do I need? He's essentially at the top of his game. Again, there's that taken out of it, isn't it? It's like, oh, I don't really want to do that bit. I don't want to do the off-season bit. Or, of course, you're going the other direction and you just take your foot off the gas completely and you're pretty much spunking it up the wall.
Literally, yeah. And like that's probably the biggest thing that separates your regional competitors to regional winners to the national winners and that international winners,
Yeah.
you know, is just the level that they're prepared to do. It gets more and more and more and more through the off season, you know. Um, I'm not saying that you have to be a hermit in your off season. Is it beneficial? Obviously, clearly, because you'll be more, there's less distractions. But obviously, if you're not pro, we've all got lives, you know, partners, family events, etc., etc. You don't need to miss them in your off season. But if you don't have them going on, then there's no need to slack, really.
Yeah, it does. I must admit, it does make it easier. I've said this loads of times. Like, I said it to my friend the other day, I'm not really someone to go for X amount of social occasions a week with people because I don't want to. Like, I'm not.
Yeah,
I just don't I don't want to, like, and when I do want to. So that's the difference. It's like it will be, a couple of times a month I might meet a friend or I'd normally do something that involves bodybuilding, but I actually want to be there. So it fills up my cup, makes me a better bodybuilder, helps add to potentially a bit of recovery around that da 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 da. But again, you're in the off season, it's like if you just see that as off, you're off, then you're framing it in the way that Instagram makes you believe that everyone does it. Oh, everyone does it like that. But let
yeah,
me tell you guys, the people that progress in year on year, they're fucking getting after it in off season. Off season's hard, Zach.
very, very hard. Off season's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
The constant eating, the mobility issues you get just through growing, really piling on the weight can affect like health, cardiovascular activity, breathing, like all sorts, like blood pressure if you're checking that. I'm not going to say blood glucose because obviously you keep that within range, don't you? And you control it yourself. So if that does go out of range again, that's being lazy though, you
Mhm.
know. So like you ask yourself why is your blood glucose too high? Because you're taking your foot off the gas and you're being lazy.
Mm.
So yeah, but there's a lot of things that go up in off season that can make life slightly difficult, especially as like a super heavyweight bodybuilder.
Yeah, I mean that's going to be the huge difference. Of course, what I would need to go from bikini is going to be very different for you, and I guess as well that ties into your risk and reward ratio compared to, for me, I can have fairly short exposures on things like, if we're talking anabolics, I can have the shorter exposure length. I feel like I do have a good response and I do that 3 times maximum a year. Whereas for yourself, I'd imagine it's going to be a very different setup in regards to what you'd be willing to do and what compounds and mix of compounds you'd use compared to even my baseline, right? Like it's femtest, LCART, and growth. That's my baseline, and that's it. And then I will do the exposures 3 times a year. But for your division, it's going to be, I'm going to assume, pretty different.
Yeah.
I'm going to pretend I don't know. We haven't spoken about this at the gym. I'm going to pretend.
Yeah, so I mean, as an open bodybuilder, you're going to be looking at, you're probably going to stay on TRT while you're meant to be off, so in between cycles. But then that's probably not going to be what's classed as a medical TRT. It'll be more of a sports-based TRT.
Sports mode.
Yeah, sports mode, boom, locked in. And also as well, that's also going to variation or variate on that based on muscle mass, body comp, age, and weight. So like there's no point, a 300-pound guy running 125 micrograms of test a week because what's that going to do for him? It's going to be useless because he probably blasts on the gram. Do you know what I mean? So it's then got to correspond to where you are running your top end cycles. So yeah, I mean, on average, an off-season cycle for me is probably between 15 to 20 weeks. Anything from three three compounds, I'd say, depending on what the goal is. So last summer, I ran test primo mast.
Nice.
Obviously, no one's doing that this year. So this summer, this sort of spring and winter, I ran test primo EQ, nat 50s for some of it, and then obviously growth all year. So it can get quite pricey as well when you're starting to stack other compounds up, as well as when you start adding in things like peptides as well. Because as you're going to start getting bigger, you're probably going to get some like micro tears. or you're going to start growing and your tendons can't always keep up, so you're going to get some little tendon niggles. So your BPC comes in, your TB500 comes in, your GHK comes in, and then it's things like that that just keep ticking up the expenses box every little pound, every little month that goes by. You're thinking, oh, this is a little bit pricey, but this is what I want to do. So it's not pricey.
Yeah, that's
But
a
like I say, it just depends, because obviously there's a lot more compounds there than you would use personally. Or well, I would assume any bikini girl would use.
Oh yeah, this is the thing we're talking. Yeah, from what because I've had some of the signs of masculinization, and I'm happy with I'm okay with those, right? But I don't want to get too far into that, and I know that I know that I will chase the dragon. I like the feeling of being on anabolics. If I'm completely honest, I don't need to skirt around it. There, it feels fucking good. But even that example, yours might be 15 weeks exposure. Mine would be, generally speaking, now it's 8, but at first it would be 6 weeks, and then going up to 8, and I'll keep an eye on if I'm okay with if there's side effects occurring, if I want to titrate down, if I want to put you can make the decision. But if you see there, it's like already 50% of the time that you would be exposed to anabolics. Now, of course, there's going to be people listening that are going to be doing different things to me, different things to you. And there are people that run anabolics all year round, and are people that don't want to go down the injectables, will stick to the orals. So there's so many different ways to look at it. Now, you're the test to this. Getting bloods done is, of course, what we would both recommend to be able to see what's happening. But again, it's an added cost. So people will go, I'll buy the Anavar, pretty cheap. I'll just smash that. Cool, cool. We'll see what nothing's happening outside. The organs don't really matter, and I'm being a bit of a dick there, but it can happen in the space because you see the physique change.
Yeah,
You don't care about the organs, like, well, they seem fine to me because I can't see them, you know.
yeah, I've seen it so often, like especially young lads who start a cycle of whether it be Anavar, Debo, or even test. They've had no prior blood work. When you speak to them about it, and I say, well, you should get blood work, even whether you're on cycle now to have a look if everything's okay, or when you come off, you should consider getting blood work done. And the answer's always no.
Yeah.
The majority of the time, the answer's always no. I get my blood work done minimum 4 times a year,
Nice.
minimum up to 6 or 7.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But how do you see what's happening? I almost think, people would rather pay for the PEDs than pay for the bloods before doing the PEDs, and you're like, because the thing is as well, it's all well and good, right? We all do this shit. We all just go, oh fuck it, I don't really care. But again, it's the longevity of how long do you want to do this for? And we both chase the dragon at times, right? We're both guilty of that. But it's, being able to go, okay, so what's the most efficacious way to utilize PEDs for the goal? And I know that obviously you coaching with Nick, he's very good at controlling your dragon, isn't he? He's very good at.
Oh, mate. Yeah. I tell him every week we do some more. Like every week I'm there like Oliver Twist. More, sir, more. Like, you know what? I can't knock Nick. This prep's been brilliant. And he's kept everything like what I would consider extremely low. Um, and he's got great results. So I can't argue with that. And it's been brilliant. But it's just a lot lower than what I'm used to and what I consider normal. Obviously, though, Nick was happy with my blood work that I had done when I sent that to him. And that was literally post a 17-week pretty heavy cycle that I'd done. And it kind of come back literally perfect, to be fair, which was pretty wild. I think I had like 3 markers out of 66 that were fractionally out. Um, so
Especially
yeah,
long doing it as well, which is,
yeah.
I do feel like there are more educated coaches in the space that are trying to get the most out of the least. And that's like, it's challenging your narrative because you've done higher cycles, right? And that's probably quite hard in some respects. Not hard, but it is quite hard to accept that because it feels good. As I said, doing anabolics, it's not, again, people try and say like, oh, it's really bad, it's really bad. yeah, okay, but if we're gonna do them, one, talk about it like we are today, but also respect people that want to choose, to do the anabolics, but then for yourself, you're having to take the guidance from a coach to do the lower cycles for the better result and completely trust your new coach, which is quite hard. I'd imagine if people are listening, they could be in a similar scenario. Probably quite hard to accept that, Zach.
Yeah, I do find it quite hard to accept, and I did struggle with it, to be honest with you. But I think the saving grace for me in this is before I hired Nick, I knew of him and I really liked a lot of the things that he did. And then, lucky enough for me, because for the people that don't know, Nick is an American coach and I'm a UK athlete. We're both sponsored by Gasp. And when I've been in Texas, I've met him face to face. We've hung out, we've had a couple of sessions. He's looked over my physique, etc., etc. And this set us up on a really good platform to bond from there. So I know and I also trust what he says and how informative he is. There is a reason for we do have of him. I mean, not taking anything away from other coaches because 90% of us, all as good coaches, like everything we say is genuinely for a reason.
Yeah.
But when it's a different philosophy to what you're used to, trusting him and knowing him that he has that reasoning can be quite difficult. But because of the respect I have for him as well, that shines through.
Yeah. It's an important conversation to have as well because I would say your example is almost like the extreme version of if someone's swapping coach and they've been bodybuilding for one prep, say, and they're swapping coach, it's going to be limited to what, you've been through a diet, you've been through a prep. Whereas for yourself, this far in the game, working with top level coaches, etc., it gives people that example of actually, if it's the right decision, changing coach, it could happen 15 years down the line. Like, don't just stay with a coach if you're not. If you think maybe there's a bit more from, exploring other angles or what have you, because of course people can be caught in coaching relationships as well and sort of feel bad and they stay with the coach and could I have more? And what you're describing there is we're not bashing any coaches. It's just it's a different approach and you're responding very well to it, but you respect the coach and that's another big thing. Hire a coach but respect them, it's we're not doing things for the sake, as we say, most coaches, you're not going to get someone to do something for the sake of it, are you? It's like that there's a
No, yeah, because we all have a different philosophy, don't we? We all like to do things different ways. And for you and me, who've been in the game a long time, we've had multiple coaches.
yeah,
So not only have we done our own trial and error, we've been coached through trial and error.
yeah.
Some things have worked, some things have haven't. Some things make us feel like shit and they get a decent result. Some things make us feel okay and they get an average result. Some things make us feel great and we get great results. So then you kind of just put it all together,
Mm.
take your own philosophies and then send it out. And this is just comes from knowledge, data collection, obviously studying, experience. But experience is one that you can't buy. You can read all the books in the world, but until you've been there and done it yourself, you can't buy that. Do you know what I mean? So
Listen to that bit again, guys.
yeah, so I feel that with the experience and being coached by multiple people, it gives you different angles. So that makes you more set up to coach a variety of people as well, not just tunnel vision down one angle.
For sure. I love that you said that because I've got to give a shout out to my client, Elle. When she inquired, she said, why wouldn't I want you as my coach? You've done this at that point. It was like, touching on 12 years because we've been working together for years now. But she was like, what, like, why wouldn't I trust you? Why wouldn't? Because you've done it for so long. And I think that sometimes that's actually forgotten that coaches that have done the thing for so many seasons, so many years. As you said, the personal anecdote, yes, it's personal anecdote, but it's even, what happens around the show, what the expectations are in all of the phases. I've tried XYZ. this worked for me. Let's try it. Does it work for you? Like you have an analytical mind because, as you said, you've tried it on yourself. You've seen other people fuck up. You've seen other people do well. Oh, okay. What were they doing? And I loved that. I said it literally to her in a voice note as well this weekend to say, I'll always remember when you said that to me. Why wouldn't I choose you? I was like, wow, this is good because it is. You can't beat time in the game, can you?
No, and it's again something that he's earned year after year after year, season after season after season. And it actually goes back to what we said at the beginning of the pod about people quitting.
Yeah.
You know, we haven't. We've stuck it out. You know, we've both had serious operations. We've both had a lot of time out of the game without being on stage. You know, we've both coached for a long period of time. We've both competed internationally. We've both coached people all around the world to multiple titles and multiple trophies, etc., etc. And we're still here, you know, so we have earned the right to be here and to be successful.
That gets lost, it does. It's the showing up. Sometimes, as you said earlier, you don't want to show up, but you still do because we get the
Yeah,
opportunity to do this. And that's, the time in the game, the mindset that is built, the purpose we feel, the purpose is there even in the darkest fucking times. The purpose is there, and you're knee deep in a prep now. Your macros dropped on Friday, so you're getting even further into a prep, and you still got that because of course the resentment we spoke about, and the things that can happen even when you're in a prep. You've got to. There's got to be something in your mind, the crazy shit that comes out to go. But I want to do this. I want to drop my macros. I want to push more. I want to see more. And you've obviously got a regional coming up, and then you're doing the amateur O. With the regional, could we talk a bit about, how you're feeling on the lead up to that? Because
yeah,
I feel like
yeah,
that would be a good for people to understand. I don't know how many people listening wouldn't understand that you do the regional to then qualify for the pro qual. Because there might be people listening that don't even know about this.
yeah. So again, because me and Sarah have done this a long time ago, and we actually had a conversation the other day about the how shall we put it, the current level of the UK regional qualifiers.
Yeah.
And back in the day when regional qualifiers used to be really popular, there wasn't so many, and the top three only would get invites. And if you finished top three at a regional, it was a great achievement. And then it meant you got a qualification for the British. And that also meant basically at the British, you had to battle it out for the top six. And even if, so they placed the top six, and even if you got top six, sometimes I would only give out a top four international qualifiers. So, like, you know, that meant that you were good. You were
Work.
very good. You would beat the rest of the country. Whereas now you can sort of turn up to a qualifier and it doesn't really matter. All you've got to do is turn up and then you qualify. And I think that takes away a lot of the prestige from the qualifiers. It takes away, I'm not going to say effort because effort's the wrong word, but
It's,
the
it's turned into it. People label it as a tick box, don't they?
yes, it's a tick box now instead of a competitive competition.
Yeah.
But then, so because this year I have such a big gap between my regional and my pro qualifier, it's like 6.5 weeks, which is quite a long time if people don't know between going show to show.
I
Usually,
don't think people realize until they do it, Zach.
oh yeah, I don't know that. Hopefully, that decision doesn't bite me in the ass.
Yeah.
Yeah, usually after your qualifier, you would like to go 1 to 2 weeks into your pro qualifier to improve. So that means statistically, you go into your qualifier around 80, 85%, gain another 5% the next week. And then you've got peak week where you just sort of fine tune everything, nothing drastic. And then on the day you pro qualify, you come in at 100%. In that 2 week gap, you gain that sort of 20%. Whereas because I've got a 6 week gap, 6.5 week gap, like I'm going to be coming into my regional like around 60, 70%. And I was saying to Sarah the other day, I'm actually nervous for it because there's a lot of this year, ironically, there's a lot of good guys doing my regional, and they're all going to Romania or Spain or Sweden within 2 weeks after. And it's like, right, so they're all going to be like on ready for the pro qualifier in the next week or 2 weeks. So, I mean, I'm a little bit nervous because I've got a lot of people coming to watch this one, and I kind of there's not a lot I can do about it really because obviously the 6 week gap is what it is, and ultimately, you know, I mean, I don't like saying this, but if I come last at the regional, it's only going to hurt my ego, nothing else. Because if I'm 100% at the Olympia and I win it, then nobody really cares. Nobody cares about the regional.
If you
Then,
come in nails at the pro qual,
yeah, then it doesn't matter, does it? So it is effectively just a tick box now because I haven't got to place in the top three. I haven't got to wow people. I haven't got to come out on top. Don't get me wrong, I would always like to do this, and that is the point. You know,
that's a bit.
I am a competitive bodybuilder and I would always like to win. And I mean, don't get me wrong, the mindset of going into it and when I turn up on the day is I'm going to want to win, but I'm probably going to have to respect that there may be a couple of guys that are further in on their journey than me this year and in slightly better condition or shape. So that's just something that you have to take and know where you are and be strong enough mentally to understand that to then not let it hinder you moving forward.
Yeah, that's the fucking mind fuckery right there. Because I said to you, I don't envy you because I've had to do it before, and this is
Yeah,
my first time doing it to qualify for the Arnold's, and I was like, this is really weird because I've gone into every show to win.
yeah,
Like, what the fuck? But it was 6 or 8 weeks before the Arnold's. It might have been 8 weeks, and it was like, well, you can't. I mean, you could try, but you're not really looking to bring your best 6 weeks before
right,
and then 6 weeks after. You can get better, but as your example, I've done it where I do a season where it's like 1 week, 2 weeks in between, another show, 1 week, another show, 1 week,
yeah,
which
yeah,
you can potentially get better if you've got the coach to guide that and your physique responds. But generally speaking, to hold that for 6 to 8 weeks, it's to get better would be very hard. So then it's like I've got to, and that probably was one of my hardest mental challenges as a competitor.
yeah. I've got to say, like, it's not something that I wake up proud about every day, but it's
You know
something
you've got a
that's got
job
in
to do.
place. Yeah, you got a job to do. I've got to turn up. I've got to turn up the best I can on that day. I know it won't be the best I have been or the best I will be. And that's just what I have to understand. And then look at it and take away, you know, obviously look at the guys who are around me. And if I beat them, fantastic. If they beat me, understand why and just look at am I going to improve that and how much by?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So the opportunity of getting back on stage, like it's normal for us now because we've done it so many times. However, if you haven't been on stage for a while, it does feel it's not like really nerves, but it's you just feel a bit wooden. You're
Yeah.
like, oh, and you got to like do all your tan and all the stuff we have to do. It's quite cool to just get back in the rhythm, as it were, before doing something like the amateur O, right? Like it's blowing the cobwebs off.
Yeah, literally, that's kind of what it will be, isn't it? It's just blowing the cobwebs off, you know, practicing posing under the lights again, and being in a lineup. Looking forward to being in a strong lineup. To be fair,
That's a vibe.
yeah, that is a vibe. That is a vibe because either way, it's going to be a battle, you know, and that's kind of the fun part.
It should be.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
you should be like, how many people have I got to fucking go savage mode on? I love that when I see competitors coming through. I'm like, I'm gonna have to fucking work for this. Again, a concept that maybe people would be like, what? I'd rather it just be win by default. If you're doing that, probably you need to look at the reasons behind it as well. We spoke
yeah,
about the last one actually, where we were like, You know, I've never done it with one in the category, but you had, and you were like, I have won by default. It's not my proudest moment, but
Yeah.
it's still a win. Like, I'm not saying, you know, it's not a win for people that have won by default, but when you see a lineup and you get excited, that's probably a good sign that you're, you know, looking to be a competitive bodybuilder, you know?
Yeah, that's it, isn't it? Because at the end of the day, it's bodybuilding is not easy to get to a good level, to build a lot of tissue, to get extremely lean, to dehydrate yourself so you're hard, you're dry, you're tight. You want to compete against people because that's kind of the whole point. Because if I wanted to stand in my pants on my own, I'd just do it in my bedroom. Do you know what I
Or
mean?
a destination.
Yeah, all destination. Yeah, yeah, as I do every day at the moment, and get some funny looks. But here we are.
Yeah, but at least you've got a physique. Like sometimes I think, what is going on in this gym? Not, I'm not slagging the gym, but sometimes I think I don't know what's happening here. It's such an eclectic mix of people, and I'm like, oh, I just put my headphones on and keep my head down. Now we must, before we finish, talk about our comparison of what calories we can push up to and pull down to as bikini versus heavyweight. 'Cause we spoke about that at the gym, so.
Yes.
Essentially, your prep macros before having them adjusted, obviously off your check-in last week, were pretty much my height of off season before I turn into a potato.
Yeah.
Mm.
So, I've been dieting now 12 weeks,
Yeah, I think it is, isn't it?
13 weeks, I think.
Mm.
And I've come down from 6.7 to 3.8 when we had our conversation on Friday,
Yeah.
and now down to 3.4.
Nice. So that's a pretty nice amount for people that are listening, though. We're going to give context because what we spoke about.
Yes.
You can imagine listening, going 3,400 calories in a prep. That's great.
Yeah.
Getting close to a show. What the fuck is that about? Now,
Yeah.
one, time in the game. Two,
Yes.
you're pretty fucking jacked, right? So, super heavyweight male. Now that would be where I would push up to. The 3.8 is the highest, you know, around that with off plans and stuff catered into an off season would be my height of off season. And the highest body weight I've been is 75 kilos. So what's the highest body weight you've been in an off season, which would accrue to the sort of 6,000, 7,000 calories?
So the peak I got up to this year was 283 pounds, which is 128.6 kilo. So yeah, that's why I was on 6.7 thousand calories. Yeah.
How did you find, do you find that hard from a one palate and appetite point or and two the digestive type vibe that can come from that eating that much food?
Usually, yeah. For this one, it kind of went down quite well this year. I'm not sure why. Everything. This was an off season that just seemed to flow.
Were you less stressed?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Play that back, play that back, play that back. Less
Yeah.
stress, less stress.
Less stress all day. Yeah. So that helped. I did blend one of my meals, but like eating because it was all clean food as well. That was 6, 7 without off plans. That was 6, 7 of clean whole food pretty much daily. So yeah, so the meal I would blend was cream of rice, whey, and peanut butter,
Nice.
and then just drink it. You
Nice.
know, but I mean, it was like 150 grams of cream of rice, 50 grams of whey, 40 grams of peanut butter. You know, and then potentially some berries as well. So yeah, so I'd blend that and drink it.
The
So
rest of eating food.
yeah, but my other 5 meals were all whole.
Yeah. Because that, I feel like, again, if you're in this getting into the space, you sort of think that sounds a mate. Like, yeah, I could smash 6,000, 7,000 calories. But it is pretty, even though you said this time was easier, as it were, from a digestive standpoint and appetite, it's still quite monotonous at the time doing it day in, day out, that amount, you know, and
Oh,
getting to
it's
that
a
time.
slog. It's a slog. So I was in Dallas for a month, and one of my friends come out and stayed with me, and like he competes as well. He's a men's bikini competitor,
Love it.
And he was actually there because it was about like 11:30 some nights. And he's like, "Oh, I'm just getting to bed, bro." I was like, "Cool, I'm going to eat." And he's like, "Again?" I'm like, "Yeah, bro, I've got a week before I go to bed. I've still got my last meal, you know." So I'd cook my steak and my potatoes and I'd eat that. And then I'd take all my bedtime supplements and I'd go to bed. And he's like, "That is crazy, man. Like, you've already had like 4 or 5 meals today. We've trained, like, we've been up all day, we've been exploring, we've done XYZ. Like, I'm shattered. I just want to go to bed." I'm like, "Yeah, but I just need to eat."
Gets to that point, doesn't it? It's I guess there's that like height of the dizzy off season place where it's like it does turn into this is just a purpose really like we obviously don't want to go too much into I'm just eating for a purpose, but at that point it's like I've actually just got to.
Do you want to know the thing that fueled me the most, Sarah? Because I just peaked my heaviest off-season weight. So last year my peak weight was 276.
I remember you were saying about a 280.
Yeah, and I just peaked it and I thought, I've got to get to 280. Like, I checked it in my head, I have to get to 280, have to get to 280. I wasn't going to miss a meal.
Mm, yeah, yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, I had to get there. And
Mm.
I did in the end, and I got to 283. And then I started with Nick, and then we started pulling back for get ready for prep. So, yeah, but I mean, 6'7", people think it's great, people think it's a dream. People have ate it maybe 1 or 2 days running. They've not ate it for 20, 30 days, day in, day out, not missed a meal. Yeah, it's not the same.
Yeah, it's so far removed. When I had Tony Huge last on the pod, he was like, "I've seen these people that say they eat 7 to 10 thousand calories a day, and do they fuck like they?"
Yeah, do they
I
flop?
see him on Instagram, and then I spend time with him, and he's like, he was like, I could maybe do it for one day if it was a 10,000. He's like, there's nobody that wants to do that every day. And I was like, Tony, you literally say it how it is. Like he literally
Yeah.
does. And I was like, it is so true. But again, it's what you need to do to obviously progress. And then obviously then the prep, if you start at the higher calories, the potential over the seasons, which is what you try and explore with clients, right? Like maybe we won't have to go as low from a calorie standpoint in a prep at the start. We might still need to get to that point towards the end, depending on how your body responds, but we might be able to have more of that buffer at the start. We might be able to do things a bit differently. But again, if you just sack it off and give up, you don't get the opportunity to try these things and actually experience bodybuilding for longevity rather than just for the gram, you know?
This is it. So, what would be your typical length of off season as a bikini girl?
So, I used to, my longest one was 10 months when I was competing back to back. So I did 7 seasons in 10 years. So obviously the off seasons were shorter. One of those preps was really long in between those. So it was like a mini off season and stuff like that. Now this time, because I had the knee surgery and it forced me into being in a wheelchair and not being able to do the off season for that portion of time, I ended up doing 2 years. Now, that's the best muscle growth I've ever had. It's also the most uncomfortable I've been in regards to the height of off season and a body fat standpoint. But my physique looks very, very different now. Like, obviously, more time being assisted. So I won't, not talk about that. But it's like, I can't believe still that my physique can look better this far in after being so battered for sure so many times. Also being able to climb the ranks and get to the point that I have, you sort of think, well, that's the pinnacle. That's it. But doing that 2 year or well, like 19 months off season, wow, the fucking rewards that it's brought is wild. Like, and I believe, I don't know your thoughts on this. Sometimes I feel like competitors could probably get to the point in off season where they need to do at least one off season where they're actually very uncomfortable from a bigger standpoint, and that can yield more. And I feel like that's what I did. Like I stayed at that higher body weight for quite some time and it wasn't very nice, but the rewards are there now. And it was like, I've just got to fucking sit with this. I'm not going to smack talk myself. I'm going to be like, yeah, this is cool being curvy. Just fucking do the thing. So yeah, do you feel any merit to that where sometimes you've got to almost get to a point where you're quite a lot bigger for a short space of time before going back into a diet?
Would absolutely hand on heart agree with that. I think if you're not prepared to do that, you're probably also not prepared to get lean enough to compete.
Nice. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It is it's a. Mm. I feel like a fucking jacket potato every day. But then it's
That's
because
true.
boys and men get to wear massive t-shirts and you look better a lot of
Yeah.
I'm like, I've got a fucking hamster face, but get the, and then I look now in this just diet, not stage prep, and I'm like, okay, I'm very happy with my physique. So, again, guys, it's time in the game. Maybe you'll get to a point where you can have 6.5 to 7,000 calories. If you're a guy listening, maybe some females, but that would be pretty fucking.
It'd be wild, that, wouldn't it?
Yeah, Romana gets to like 3.5, and she's like, I'm tapping out.
Really,
Yeah, I can't. Dan, I don't want to fucking do this anymore. I've had enough. I've had enough. Well, Zach, of course, if anyone listens and they want to share us on the stories, reach out to you. Obviously, I'm going to be at your shoot, which is 3 weeks from today. 3 weeks?
Yep.
Yeah. And we'll be there. I was like, I'll give you a pep talk, but I'd imagine you'll be like full on fucking show mode. So I'll just be like, hi.
Love that. No,
Kelly's coming as
forward
well,
to
isn't
it.
she?
Yes, Carl's coming, yeah.
Yeah.
No, good.
I believe Brett's driving us, but
He is, apparently.
as he said to you, he is.
He's told me he's coming.
Okay. So, because I was like, I'm sort of hoping that Brett's taking us.
Yeah.
Are you
Yeah.
going the night before?
Yeah, I've got to get my tan on the Friday. It's a ball ache again, isn't it? So, yeah.
Yeah.
So
Are you
yeah.
and you stay at a hotel and all that?
Yeah, I'll stay up there because otherwise in the morning, because I think on the Saturday in the morning, my tan will be at like 7. So I have to get up at like 4, 5-ish to get up there.
Yeah.
Because
And
yeah,
then the show starts at like 9 or 10, does it?
yeah, I think it's 9, half 9 doors open. Yeah.
Love it. Well, my G, I'll be there with my pom-poms, and obviously I'll see you at the gym before, but thank you.
Love that.
And I'm sure we both need a wee right now.
Enjoy.
Thank you, Zach. Bye.
Okay, mate. See you later, guys.